Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dirt. Want to thank you for taking some time out to listen to the podcast of our show, brought to you by Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
I'd like to say something.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin quarter mile.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
God, there was 1 week when you wore sweatpants every day.
Oh, you know what? If they were Sean John sweatpants, it would have been fine. But because they're Costco brand, it's like the worst thing I could do.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here on The Fan. Boy, we've tackled all the hard-hitting topics.
Vaccine mandates to racism. What's next? What else you got?
Anti-vaxxers and...
Let's talk about the Texas abortion law coming up in 10 minutes. Huh? Let's hit our bingo card. What else you got? Maybe Supreme Court decisions. I like that. What else can we chalk into the next hour of the show?
503-250-1080. Would you still perform an abortion in Texas? No, because then you'll get snitched on. Well, I think the ESPN one is interesting. Like, how can you see the controversy circled around that, and then to have the color analyst suggest that the coach is, almost racist in a certain respect? How can you have that person still call the game this weekend? Like, what are we doing here?
It's a really bad look.
Have some awareness.
One of our people once texted in, I don't want to go all Seahawk fan here, but can we get a petition going to get Rod Gilmore from calling Oregon Duck football games, please?
But this is fair, and this is part of the problem is when you reach to the racism card, you better damn well come prepared. And he reached for it and then immediately had to walk it back, but still kind of kept trying to play it.
He did.
He called him a white guy yelling at a black kid, but Mario Cristobal is Cuban-American.
His parents are from Cuba.
And then that went from he's a white guy being racist to, you still know what I mean. What is that?
He looks like a white guy. So therefore, we'll just label him a white guy yelling at a black kid.
I just think it's, have some, I said yesterday, you brought this topic up. We didn't talk about Rod Gilmore, but you brought it up. And I said, it's not even a Cristobal thing. I remember Dabo did this to a punter 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Saban's done this.
Oh, Saban does
too
this
many times
5 times a game, it feels like.
I'm just not a fan. Like, my style as a human being, I don't need to be yelled at. You could literally just tell me, hey, don't do that again, and I'll understand it. But I also admit Hudson and Cristobal have a relationship. There is something there. Mario doesn't do that often. He didn't even apologize. He basically said, no, I stand by what I did. Me and Chris we're on the same page now. Good for him. But I'm not running to Mario is a racist and like you're going to the worst possible spectrum of people. And if you just took 5 minutes of research, which I don't think he does when he calls games, because I've heard him call games now for 4 years or more, you realize that Mario Cristobal's program is largely built on relationships and player-coach relationship.
That's his biggest strength as a head coach.
It's culture. It's together. Like, of all the things you can say about Mario Cristobal, the one thing you can't say is that he doesn't care about his players or that he doesn't have meaningful relationships. You see it when they win. They all hugged him at Ohio State, did they not? Noah Sewell, we did this. So even if you don't like the optics of what it looked like, that's okay. Although a poll question would suggest that you're a pansy if you voted yes to that. To take it to it's bad because this is maybe suggesting racism, like that's where you are way out to lunch. And I hope ABC or ESPN, I hope that they're seeing some of this stuff because Duck Fan is now making this trend. Fire Rod Gilmore. Pull him from the game. Like, you need to call this right now. It's Tuesday. You need to say, Rod, you're not going. Are they playing at the Farm this year? Are they playing Eugene?
It's at Stanford.
You're not going to the Farm. You're not going to Stanford for that football game.
Guess who went to Stanford?
Oh, no. Did he?
He did. Rod
so
Gilmore
now they've got a homer and a guy that hates Mario Cristobal.
It's a double whammy. I'm sure that
just put me on the Civil War broadcast.
Yeah, let's bring Sprague on. I like this. And go call the game with Jerry Allen. That'll go over well. Look, they're going to have a call too. Every time you broadcast a game, you have a sit-down meeting with some prominent players and a head coach. That's the way it works. They make them available for you so you can talk to the coach and the players. And so, look, if he ends up calling the game, I guess it's something to keep an eye on to hear if he apologizes or walks back what he says, because I'm sure Mario Cristobal has gotten wind that an ESPN broadcaster essentially called him a racist. And to your point, like we've talked about this yesterday, I don't have a problem with anybody taking issue with what he did. Not everybody likes to be coached that way. Not everybody would handle that well.
And by the way, I was coached that way basically my entire life, and it just it actually built up a lot of anger in me.
I know a lot of people that way that I played sports with, that they weren't receptive to that kind of coaching, and everybody is built differently, and that's okay to just say, hey, I didn't think it looked great. I wouldn't want to be coached that way. That's a fine stance to have. That does not, I'll be the judge on this, that does not make you a pansy. I feel good in ruling in that regard. But I go back to kind of what I was saying in the last segment, and that is that every player is different. And I feel like a head coach, if you are a good head coach, you understand which one of your players, how they like to be coached. I think the worst thing a head coach can do at any level is to coach and treat every player like they can be coached and treated the exact same way. That doesn't mean you coddle stars. It doesn't mean you do special treatment, that kind of stuff. But everybody just needs a different style of coaching, especially in 2021. And a one-size-fits-all approach is never going to work. And for a head coach that we literally have never seen him do that. Ever. In his 4 years, he's had some yelling moments. He's had some angered moments, sure. We've never seen him slam a headset and get in a player's face. I'd imagine the first time he's doing it, A, to send a message to his team that he's really frustrated with the way that they're playing, but B, he's also doing it to a player that he understands is going to be able to handle that. He's going to be receptive to it, and he's going to be able to move on from it, and he can handle that kind of situation. And clearly he did, because he was back in the second half playing in that game. He didn't get benched. He was in the game in the second half. And so there was another player, one of their top offensive linemen recruits from last year. It's hard for me to pronounce his last name, but he's one of their 5-star kids. His parents saw this kind of trending on Twitter and sent out a tweet basically saying, this is why I wanted my kid to go play for Mario Cristobal.
Absolutely.
Because he's always going to hold them accountable and hold them to a high standard, and that's what you should want out of a head coach. And it just, to me, it was funny, and I don't know if this is just the Oregon bubble that we live in, and maybe this kind of stuff gets talked about, but the amount of times this was shared and the comments that it got from Rod Gilmore, this stuff happens in every college football game. Go watch Alabama Ole Miss this weekend and count the number of times that Nick Saban loses his S at a player on the sidelines. Do we ever hear a commentator say, how dare he do this? I don't like this. This is going too far. I see coaches do this all the time, and I feel like it's one of the first we've ever stopped and said, well, did he go too far? Was he racist? We've never had this conversation before.
Well, but you've never had another person on the broadcast kind of call it out and then also take it to that level, right? Like, have we had an example of a guy like...
That's why it's such a hit. Why is this the one that gets it? It's just Rod Gilmore because he was on the call? It's weird for me that this was the one that sent him over the edge.
The Dabo one is the most cringy one I've seen to date. Like, he berated and followed a punter around and screamed at him for legitimately 2-3 minutes, and it was just, all right. I think your message got to the punter's ears when you just said, hey, you suck. You suck. Like,
I think he gets the message.
And that's kind of my point, is you can get the message across. That being said, I do think part of this is it's a heightened society. It is, when you look around, it's a jump to conclusions, Matt, in a lot of cases, is it not? It's if it's any two races in a situation, it's an automatic assumption by some to go to the R word, to go to racism. And we need to remember what that word means instead of just willingly throwing it around to everybody. If there's a white guy and a black guy disagreeing on something, it's not everything is involving racism. It's just maybe a disagreement. And then also, if you're gonna come at a coach like that, okay, can you at least know that he's not white? Is that too much to ask? Or if his skin is more fair than other Cuban Americans? Like,
what are we doing here,
what are we doing? I think to answer your question, we don't have people dive into coaches like that in those instances. But I also think right now there's a lot of people still on edge. It was a tough summer. It's been a tough few years, man.
It's been a really rough couple of years.
And I'm not excusing anybody here. I'm just saying, or trying to maybe explain how we get to the jump to conclusions, racism involved, Matt, because I have no other reason for why Rod Gilmore would take it there. I can't fathom what Mario Cristobal is going to say in that meeting, because somebody's going to show him that tweet.
Without a doubt.
Just like he's never going on Doug Gottlieb's show again for stupid reasons.
Yeah, Gottlieb was actually the one sticking up for him in this
That's because
case.
he's kissing his ass to get him back on the radio show. Rod Gilmore, I can't fathom Mario is going to be very happy in a production meeting. He goes, did you really suggest on Twitter that I'm racist and I'm white?
Can you explain yourself there, please? Can you give me some logic behind that? But here, that is your PSA for today, is that you have the ability, if you live within 75 miles of where we are located, right, this current moment, you can listen to this game on the Odyssey app.
Yeah, so you can sync up the actual play-by-play from Jerry Allen.
You can listen to Jerry and Jorgie. They do a great job calling the game. So I'm actually going to try and do that this week. I don't know if I can. It was rough. It wasn't just the coach stuff. It was just a really bad broadcast last week. Part of it was
the 7:30 kick is always going to give you probably one of the worst broadcasts that you're going to get in the day.
And I get it.
Not?
I mean, you're sitting around all day, whatever. These guys, a couple of old guys trying to call a game at 11 o'clock at night, whatever. And part of it was probably because Oregon played like crap and it's a close game going into the fourth quarter. So I'm upset and their pants are getting tight because I think Arizona's going to pull off an upset and they're getting all excited talking about how Oregon's not the number 3 team in the country. And it was like a whole game of what are we doing here? And then that one sent people over the edge of like, really? We're just going to start throwing guys under the bus now?
Well, him and Mark Jones, before Mark Jones went to Just NBA, did a UW game like 3 years ago. And I remember watching it. It was a 7:30 kick. I forgot who they're playing, but I remember listening and watching the game and hating it. I was just like, I never want to hear Mark Jones and Rod Gilmore on a call again.
I think it was the year that they went to the college football playoff because they were making fun of their non-conference schedule, saying
that was the cupcake.
They're
that's
holding
right.
Cupcakes on the sideline.
It was that same game. I mentioned that yesterday's show.
Yeah.
I think it was that same weekend where he did the cupcake thing. That broadcast was awful. They had no idea who half the players were.
Yeah.
I heard that on the Pac-12 network this weekend too. Those guys on the network didn't know who anybody's names were.
Yeah, Beaver names.
Dave Fleming is this guy, your boy.
Dave, yeah, and he was awful on Saturday night. It was bad. They called the game legitimately at the end. For those who stuck around and watched the entire thing, congratulations, you deserve a medal. But it was a weird ending to the game because Arizona it was a 20-point game. Arizona's calling timeouts. Oregon put in Ty Thompson, and they were throwing the football with less than a minute to go. And it just turned into a complaining broadcast of why are we – it was like we want to go home kind of thing. Why are we still throwing the football? You're getting paid to do a job, not to complain about what's going on in front of you. Arizona's calling timeouts because they want to work on something. Why the hell does it matter to you why they're calling timeouts? Oregon's throwing the football because they got a young quarterback they want to get reps. Why does it matter to you? Call the damn game. Even that rubbed me the wrong way at the end of it.
Can I tell you a dirty little secret and then I want to go to the NFL?
Sure.
If I was a broadcaster calling football, college football games specifically this year, I would, you know what I'd be fighting for? Because we've been a night show. When you're doing a night radio show, you're fighting for ears. You're fighting for people to hear you, right? You're trying to stand out. I would take a lot of pride. In fact, I think I'd want to be the Pac-12 After Dark guy. Like when you put me on the 7:30 kick, I want people to know that I'm calling that game and they get super excited because you're super jacked up for 7:30 Pac-12 After Dark
You're
football.
excited to be there.
Versus I think the majority of people, and I'll give FS1 credit, Petros was on the call of the USC-Oregon State game. I thought they had a good call.
Yeah.
But the ESPN crew, it almost always feels like when you get the ESPN night game, 7:30 kick, 7:45 sometimes, it feels like that crew's not excited to do that game. And I wish that they found people that were like, this is my opportunity to build myself up, learn my reps, get some more reps, and then also maybe you just become Pac-12 After Dark guy. Like, that would be a really cool mantle in my mind of, oh, Sprague's on the call for the 7:30 kick. He's Pac-12 After
he's
Dark
gonna
guy.
Be fired up. It's going to be fun.
You have to look at what you have for your broadcast that nobody else has. You're the last game of the day. You can so if the game gets out of hand, it's a 3-touchdown game. The outcome is, you can start having the discussion about where do you vote? Does Oregon State deserve to be voted into the top 25? Is Oregon really the number 3 team, after Alabama, Georgia? Have that discussion. I always look at, what do I have to work with here that nobody else has?
That's what I'm saying. Like, be the Gus Johnson of 7:30 kicks. I really think that would be a really cool thing to lean into. And if ESPN could find that person versus like this round chair table, like who's going to call the 7:30 Duck game? Who's going to call the 7:30 Cal game?
I don't want to do it.
Get some people that want to call those games and not forcing people to call those games. There's a difference there.
Yeah, we've already had racism in this segment, so not to add ageism, but some of that is just not having an old curmudgeon guy calling a game at 7:30 at night.
Well, yeah, I mean,
there could be some youth that is injected into those broadcasts.
Take a nap and drink a bang. That's what I would say to the old people. Like, if Swag was calling the game at 7:30, Swag's 83 years old. He would sound like he's 43 years old.
He look great for 83.
He does. He looks amazing. Great head of hair.
Look really good for 83.
I'm still rocking the ponytail.
That's what what I'm saying. He likes it pulled.
Excuse you.
Coming up next, tough weekend for the young QBs. Matt Money Smith at the bottom of the hour to talk Herbert and the Chargers. That's next on The Fan. Boy, it doesn't happen often. Somebody tweeting us asking us to talk baseball.
Oh, you don't got to ask twice, buddy. I'll do an hour of baseball for you. Brandon Belt fractured his damn thumb. A week left in the regular season, bunting in a game in the 7th inning at Coors Field.
Did you know Justin Tucker kicked and made a field goal 19 yards?
So disrespectful.
Farther than the Bears offense gained on Sunday?
I did not see that stat, but it does not surprise me because I feel like every offensive play the Bears ran went backwards.
The Bears had a total of 47 team yards. As a team, for a whole game, they gained 47 yards on offense. Justin Tucker made a 66-yard field goal. According to CBS Sports, the Bears' offense averaged 1.1 yards per play. It's the worst in a century. I mean, how is Matt Nagy have a job? I quite literally could do just as awful, if not better.
Oh, I could do that.
You could do that.
I could do that.
You could not know half of what's going on the field. You could be like, oh my God, the environment, it's loud, it's moving too quick.
I could gain 40 yards in an NFL game as a head coach. I could do that.
Yes. Yeah.
I got that in my bag.
He was sacked 9 times.
9 times.
The theme this year so far for the rookie quarterbacks is none of them are very good. Trey Lance doesn't play. I'm not getting any conclusions on Trey Lance. The Mac Jones stuff, boy, we are really taking our Jergens lotion out if that kid throws a 7-yard dart. Zach Wilson can't throw a 10-yard out pass. As bad as his team is, he can't throw 10-yard out passes. And Trevor Lawrence half the time isn't reading anything the defense is doing.
Yeah, he threw such a bad pick six on Sunday.
It's not been a very good season whatsoever for any of the rookies. I don't know if we should be surprised by that because they're rookies, but none of them really leave me all that optimistic about what they've been so far.
I mean, on your Mac Jones thing, you're not wrong. We are raving about him. I think a lot of it has to do with the team that he plays for. But
he's
also
not asked to do as much as the other guys are being asked.
Not even close.
Way.
But also, just throwing a 7-yard out, we get the Jergens lotion out because I'm not quite sure any of these other rookie quarterbacks can throw a 7-yard out. So that's the bar so far for these guys to get over. And it's sad that he's the one setting the bar because he's not playing very well, but that's kind of where we're at right now. I saw somebody bring this up on Twitter the other day, and not to just rave about him, but I'll take any excuse that I can to do it. It's another reminder of how special Justin Herbert was last year.
Yep.
That you just don't see rookie quarterbacks do this very often. They come in and just kind of click, pick up the offense, despite having a head coach that didn't really know what he was doing and a team that often finds creative ways to lose games. He still was able to carry a team from time to time and put up huge numbers, especially late in the season. The Matt Nagy stuff. Did you see his press conference yesterday?
It was a train wreck.
Like, oh my God, how does he still have a job? They're now opening the competition up for all 3 guys: Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, and Nick Foles. Remember, Nick Foles is there. Super Bowl winning quarterback Nick Foles is ready for his shot. So that's going to make fans happy, right? Yeah, let's play Nick Foles because we're 1-2 and clearly going in the right direction. Watching the highlights of that game, it was blowing me away that it was just, they were running an offense that just was sitting him in the pocket. Hiking the football, sitting him in the pocket. You know that you have a terrible offensive line. Andy Dalton had a hard time because you had a terrible offensive line. You were just setting him up for failure. Like, get him out, move his spot, have him rolling out, do some play action. Just, I don't care what it takes. Run the football a little bit more just to try and make it easier on him. But he attempted 20 passes. He was sacked 9 times.
Yeah.
And look, some of those are probably on him, undoubtedly, because he's a rookie quarterback and he doesn't want to throw a pick and he's, maybe not seeing things as clearly as you would want him to. But over half of those are just on horrible protection, and you're just standing him in the pocket like he's going to be able to execute with a functioning offensive line, which he does not have.
Well, I was reminded, people like Baker and Lamar are going into contract seasons, and it's going to be big for them to see if they get paid. And I always hear the reasoning why you wouldn't want to pay Baker or why you wouldn't want to pay Lamar, and I get it, I do. Why I push back and disagree and say you kind of have to, it's the Matt Ryan situation. It's what is your alternative option? We love to act like every rookie on a rookie deal is there for the taking to go win a Super Bowl. And the fact is, outside of Russell Wilson, And Patrick Mahomes, yeah, I guess Brady kind of falls into that category, but that was years ago. Like,
well, even Mahomes didn't play in year one. He didn't play until year two.
No, I know, but he started winning in his rookie deal, and that's Jared Goff got to the Super Bowl. It's like these teams that want to get the rookie contract and they want to win then because they can spend money elsewhere. Look how difficult it is for teams that pay guys. The problem with that and why you have to pay these quarterbacks is because you assuming that you're just going to find the next quarterback the next year or in 2 years, it's completely misguided. And that's not to say Fields, Lawrence, Wilson, Mack, Trey Lance, if he plays. It's not to suggest all 5 of them are going to suck or none of them will be great. It's just to simply state, I'm watching them. I watched probably too much of the Denver Jets game, mainly because I wanted KT to go 0 for 3. Man, he doesn't have a great offensive line, and the Jets are the Jets. I was watching him with pass protection not be able to throw 10-yard out route passes. He was throwing them 2 yards shy of a guy going out who was open. So it's just it's never a sure thing. It's always this, well, you're going to get the generational guy. I don't know if Urban Meyer feels that way today. Urban Meyer might be contemplating his next life choice because they can't win and they're not playing particularly well. His quarterback had like a weird flea flicker that he ended up throwing, just staring down the receiver, and it was a pick six, no problem. I think you have to. That's when you get Bakers and Lamars. You got to pay them. They're good enough to help you keep winning. Maybe the belief is that eventually they'll take you over the hump if you have the right pieces versus rolling the dice and hoping the next rookie guy will end up hitting. And as we're seeing with this rookie group, none of them leave you all that inspired that you're winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 years.
No, not at all. And you don't want to just, quit on guys 3 games into their career. Nobody's advocating doing that.
Oh, no way. But they look
But I will
terrible.
say you're raising red flags because, again, I will point out Herbert showed it right away. It didn't take him a long time. He got injected into a game in in game 2, not knowing that he was going to start, and he went out there and balled and he took the job and he ran with it. You know who else looked really good last year? Didn't translate to a lot of wins, but looked really good before he got hurt was Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was playing some good football. Now they were a terrible team, so it wasn't translating into a playoff winning record. But go look at his numbers from last year and then what he was doing, the highlights. Like, he was a competent, good rookie quarterback. You could see right away from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. You're like, all right, that guy's got it. He's ready to play in the NFL. He's a good quarterback. And none of these guys have shown it. Now, we've seen Troy Aikman was historically bad as a rookie. Peyton Manning was historically bad as a rookie.
Yeah, but Troy, I won't put Troy in this. Peyton, at least, you could see Peyton clearly making rookie mistakes with the interceptions.
Sure.
I think he had 22 in the year. He also, you could see, like, this was going to be...
He had the tools that you wanted. You
Yes.
just got to clean up some of that stuff. And that's going to be the biggest key for all these rookies because none of them have really looked the part at all. Yeah, now to be fair to Fields, he's only played the one game. Wilson and Lawrence have all started 3 games. Mac Jones
came
has
in
as well.
early in the last one when Dalton went down.
That's true. He didn't play well, so he's played a game and a half, and he hasn't played very well. But you're looking for those signs, and so far doesn't mean they're going to be terrible. None of them have shown you those signs.
Let me ask you this, and then we'll ask Matt Money Smith this question. I heard this yesterday, and I kind of got to thinking, if Patrick Mahomes was off the board, would Justin Herbert be the quarterback every GM would take in a you can take any guy you want draft?
Like for 1 year or for the future?
Let's call it the future. Like you can
It's
use
hard
it
to
as a
think of
1 year
somebody.
thing, or
Josh Allen probably would be in that category. Kyler Murray would be in. You
take Kyler over Herbert?
I'm not saying that I would, but I'm just saying I think those guys. For me, I would probably take Allen and Herbert would be a tough.
I think the majority. Yeah, I think
call.
Allen and Herbert would be the guys that you fight over. But he's probably 2 on that list.
He's in the top 3, no doubt. If
Without
you're
a
going
question.
young and where your career's heading, there's no doubt he's in the top 3.
Well, let's talk about Justin Herbert, who had a great road win, the best win of his career. They beat Kansas City on Sunday. The play-by-play man of the Chargers is Matt Money Smith, also does a radio show down in L.A. on AM 570. He's going to join us next for the Daily Ticker, get his thoughts on what year 2 for Herbert's been like and what he's thinking about the Chargers' hopes this year. Matt Money Smith is next, but first.
In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
This is the Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague visit the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, it's Daily Ticker time here on a Tuesday, and let's go down to Los Angeles. We're just talking about rookie quarterbacks, and there's one guy that has not struggled since becoming a starter and got one of the best wins of his young pro career on Sunday in Kansas Kansas City. That's Justin Herbert. Joining us now is Matt Money Smith, at Matt Money Smith on Twitter. Go give him a follow. He's a host down at AM 570 in LA and the play-by-play man for the LA Chargers. Matt, thanks for the time, man. We were talking, just right before we had you on. These rookie quarterbacks this year, they are really struggling. Have you had a chance to kind of see them, and does it add to your appreciation for what Herbert has done, just kind of taking that job over in week 2 last year and really running with it without a ton of hiccups?
Yeah, Andy, I think it's just a reminder that, Herbert and Andrew Luck, these guys are outliers. They are not the norm. It's supposed to look like, what it looks like this year. Not look exact. And I think a lot of it has to do with, look, I want to say it has to do with what's around you. And certainly when you're Justin Herbert, you got Hunter Henry and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler your rookie year. That's a big help. But he had a terrible O-line in front of him, and he was able to overcome that. But look, he's special. He's just special. He's an outlier. Tua struggled last year. Joe Burrow played great, until he got hurt. So I think it's a reminder that this is not easy, man. It is not an easy gig. And when you see Justin Herbert make it look easy, maybe you sort of lose perspective of how good he is, how exceptional he is, and just what an outlier talent he is to have been able to do that over the course of his rookie year and now pick up where he left off.
Well, Matt, how important was that not only for Herbert, but for Brandon Staley on Sunday? I feel like in any other season, the Chargers at some point, something goes against them and they find themselves on the other side of the coin flip there of maybe losing a game in Kansas City, whereas they went for it on 4th down and Herbert drove them down the field and they ended up getting the stop and scoring the touchdown and getting the win. What did you see that was maybe different with this team this year opposed to in years past where in those situations they maybe don't fare as well?
Yeah, Brandon, it's a great point, and it's easy to see. It's just aggression. Last year they were playing scared, and really that was just, look, Anthony Lynn was just a more conservative coach. He believed in the defense. He believed in the running game. He believed in using clock and forcing his opponents to call timeouts. And you just get the sense that Brandon Staley's, a little bit more of this new school. He leans on analytics. He has a team, and he's trying to play the percentages. I shouldn't say trying. He is playing the percentages, and I think he even goes a little bit beyond that when you have an opponent like the Chiefs. Look, we can draw a direct parallel from this year's week 3 to last year's week 2. It's 4th and 1, in overtime. Yeah. And you have a pretty good feeling if you punt that ball back to the Chiefs, it's not going to go well, and it didn't. Now, granted, they forced them to kick a 58-yard field goal to win that game, but here you are on 4th and 4 in a tie game with a 47-yard field goal staring at you, and he trots the offense back out. The players love it. I think they love it, and I think they love it regardless. If they win or they lose, I think they appreciate that he believes in them. And it's not saying anything to his defense. The defense played awesome. They forced 4 turnovers. I think it's him saying, let's go win this thing right now. Let's not play for overtime. Let's not play a shell and just play prevent defense. Let's be aggressive and go win a game. And I think the players absolutely love it, and they're buying in, especially because they're winning games.
Yeah, you saw that moment on was it Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football with Jim Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson where he said, you want to go for it? And he's like, yep, and they go for it, and they get it. Players love that aggression. We're talking about Matt Money Smith, at Matt Money Smith, if I can talk on Twitter, AM 570 down in L.A. He's the play-by-play man for the LA Chargers. And, looking at that one, Matt, it was a big win for them because I don't know if people realize how tough the start of the season is for their schedule. I mean, they're taking on Washington, who won the NFC East last year. We'll wait and see how they are. I know Dallas wasn't in the playoffs, but they clearly look like the front runner in that division now after they blew out Philadelphia last night. You take on Kansas City, that's this unbeatable juggernaut. Now the next couple of weeks, you got the Raiders on Monday Night Football, who are undefeated. Then you take on the Browns, who were a playoff team last year. Then you take on Baltimore. This is a really tough stretch. How important are these next 3 weeks and just kind of, finding your way early on in this season and making sure you stay in that tough AFC West playoff race throughout the season?
Yeah, I just thought, that win on Sunday was huge because, it's not one you circled. The Cowboys game, it felt like you circled as a win. And it was all self-inflicted. I thought they were the better team out there. Granted, they let Dallas run all over them, but you can now see that that's part of their identity. You want to move the ball in small chunks. They're going to force you to make 10, 12-play drives to score touchdowns, and they're going to try to force mistakes like they did against the Chiefs. And their offense just unfortunately made critical errors in critical moments, and that's how they end up losing a game 2017. So when you give that away, you got to go find one to get back, and I don't think there's any question that didn't want it at Arrowhead against a Chiefs team that had lost one game in its last 35 or 36 in the month of September with Patrick Mahomes. That's how I shouldn't say, or whatever he was. I don't know what the number was, but he had never lost a game in September. So to get that, to me, evens it out, right? And you can maybe exhale a little bit. Look, I think the Raiders are playing great football, no doubt. Those two defensive ends, and I love Gus Bradley. I believe in Gus Bradley, and I think he certainly cut those guys loose and allowed them to play a little bit more free, and you're seeing the fruits of that. But I still think the Chargers are a better team. I think they absolutely are a better team. I think Herbert's a better quarterback. Joey Bosa's the better defensive. Joey and Derwin are better than any two guys they have, and it's not even close. And I'll take Keenan and Mike Williams, over whomever you want to say is their number one receiver in Darren Waller. So, to me, they're the better team. They should win this game. And I think beating the Chiefs kind of reminds you that, we're, as the Chargers, we have just as good a roster as any team in the NFL when we step on that field. And, it's always going to be slim margins, and it's always going to come down to 5 or 6 plays. But, this team has the talent to be able to go out there and maybe win games when you can't be perfect. And I think that's kind of what separates really good teams from not great teams, is when you can overcome the errors that are just part of playing a football game.
Matt, pretty disrespectful to Hunter Renfrow that you named Darren Waller the Raiders' best pass catcher there, but we'll see what happens this weekend. Two-parter for you. Where do you think Herbert stacks up just in the general NFL quarterback conversation, and then where does he stack up in LA for athletes? Because I said this a while ago. The Rams are the flashy, slightly more talked about team, but I feel like the Chargers are the fun watch. They're the team you want to root for. They leave you with a heart attack every week. It's chaotic, it's fun, it's exciting, and Herbert is a hell of a gunslinger. Where does he stack up in the LA sports scene?
Look, I'll answer the second one first. So the Chargers, I believe the Chargers' success in this market is going to be, I don't want to say dependent, but I think it'll be because of Justin Herbert. He's a star. There are Justin Herbert jerseys everywhere in that stadium, and that is not something I saw prior to his arrival. There were not Phillip Rivers jerseys everywhere. He was San Diego's quarterback. There were throwbacks for those longtime Charger fans that weren't going to throw their team away after they moved to L.A., so there's Tomlinsons and Merrimans and things like that, and Kellen Winslow's. And there are Herbert jerseys everywhere. I mean, everywhere in that stadium. I will put him up with, look, is he Mookie Betts? No, he's not that yet. Mookie's the biggest star in town, believe it or not. He's bigger than LeBron because LeBron's he's a mercenary. He's not really a Laker. He's just kind of a gun for hire. Mookie Betts is the biggest star in town, and so is Clayton Kershaw. Those are the two guys. And I think Herbert's there, man. I think he's bigger. Believe it, as crazy as it sounds, and it's just because of the position. I think he is just as popular, if not more, than Aaron Donald right now in the city of L.A. I really believe that. And look, there's two teams here, man. There's the Lakers and the Dodgers, and everybody else is in a street fight for the third place. The Rams may have a slight advantage over the Chargers right now because they got here first and they have history here. But by no means do I think they have some sort of stranglehold on this market, and they're going to be LA's football team. That is not the case. I could totally see the Chargers taking this town over because of that guy and how popular he is. I don't know if I said this to you. I'm so proud of myself for coming up with this, and I don't even know if it's a good take or not, but I'll say it again. To me, Herbert is, and it's anecdotal, Herbert is a 3-generation star. Your grandparents love him because he's born and raised in Eugene. He's a family guy. He stayed in Eugene. He's like this small town kid, right, that's not going to be affected by the big city. The parents love him because they're like, oh, my gosh, if I could figure out a way for my daughter to marry that guy, he's the perfect person. And then the kids love him because he's Justin Herbert. I have 3 daughters. They are freaking in awe of Justin Herbert. They're gobsmacked when they see him. So he's someone that transcends all generations. He is everything that you could want from a franchise player.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He's an easy guy to root for. There's no doubt about it. Last one for you, Matt. What's it like been having fans in that barn? I mean, we got to see it open up last year, and it was I can't wait to get down to a big Pac-12 game or something down there someday, but not quite the same. You get to get fans back in there now. What's it been like so far this year?
It's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. I've done games before I did the Chargers. I did national games for Westwood One, Compass Media, and I've been in just about every. I think I have only missed 2 stadiums in the NFL. It's the best. It's the best. That's it. It's the best stadium in the NFL now. The energy is amazing. The concourses are giant. There's so many things to do. The video board, you can't quite reconcile what's happening in front of you because it doesn't make sense. It looks like a cartoon. It's like brighter than real life. You can't take your eyes off it, and it's a bowl. So it's when you walk in, you're on like the 5th level. So it's kind of you're already sort of off kilter a little bit. You're trying to make sense of what's going on. They did a really great job with it. And I know, it's a very popular topic about, how many opposing fans are, but that's always going to be the case in LA. We didn't have a team for 25 years. We loved the NFL. So they found their favorite team, and we got, 30 million people in the greater LA area. So what do you expect?
Right.
But the energy's great. Like all these people were trying to make it a Cowboys versus Chargers thing. Yeah, it was probably 60-40 Cowboys fans. But there was awesome energy in there. It was exciting. There was juice, and you could see the players were into it. So, if that's our lot for, until this thing really starts to take hold, then so be it. At least there's electricity in the building, and it's exciting to be there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Winning will change all of that as well. We'll see if they can do that here sooner than later with Justin Herbert. Matt Money Smith, AM 570 down in L.A. Go give him a follow on Twitter, at Matt Money Smith on Twitter. He's the play-by-play man for the Chargers. Thanks, man. We always appreciate catching up with you. Thanks for the time here in Portland, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, you got it, Andy. Thanks, Brandon. We'll talk to you.
There you go. Matt Money Smith. Good
One
stuff
of my favorites.
He's really good. Radio host down there, play-by-play guy down there, and it's been fun. It's been fun to watch, at least, I think for everybody locally. I know you and I agree on that, whether it's a Duck or a Beaver. We root for the local guys.
Yeah.
And to have a franchise quarterback kind of take hold in a major media market and beat Patrick Mahomes, that was a really cool moment this weekend.
Did you see what Mahomes said in the postgame?
I did not. Let's get to that next because they struggled this weekend, and they've struggled largely throughout the year. Is there a concern meter there? Are they sniffing their own farts too much? Also, what the hell is going on with Seattle? We'll stick in the NFL next on The Fam. All right, we got a lot to get to in the final hour. Backed by listener demand is baseball talk. I also had...
Were you really planning on diving into it today?
No, I was going to bring it up in the final segment, though. We'll take a look at the slate tonight and give you an update on the races. There's a lot going on. It's the last week of the baseball regular season.
I'm going to have a heart attack today starting at 4:20 first pitch.
I also loved that there was somebody that tweeted me asking if we have released this week's Dirty Poll yet, the top 10.
Tomorrow.
By somebody who does not follow me. So there's such a demand for the top 10 Dirty Poll that they're not even willing to follow me, but they're desperate for my top 10.
Well, there's a lot of media members. I enjoy their content. I don't follow them. That's, you don't have to, you can't follow everybody in the world here, Andrew.
This is true.
We were going to do it today, but
we'll do it tomorrow.
We're going to do it tomorrow.
Got it in my notes. We'll do it tomorrow.
Let's do it every Wednesday.
Okay, every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. I don't know what time, but every Wednesday, the newest edition of the top 10 Dirty Poll will be released.
Should we be worried about the Kansas City Chiefs?
Worried in the sense of they're going to lose 3 to 4 to maybe 5 games. Sure.
They lost twice.
I don't know how truly concerned you're going to get because they're always going to scare you with Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill. Their defense is an absolute problem, but I thought it was a problem the year they won the Super Bowl and their defense just, boom, play the Super Bowl, play the Niners, and you step up and you make big plays when you need to. There's always going to be a championship pedigree there. But this is part of the problem with paying a Patrick Mahomes that contract. You get more and more and more, and then eventually you start paying everybody else. You don't get to address certain positions. And they're playing some guys out of position on defense. Tyrann Mathieu missed their first game. He's coming back, a little bit of a slow start. Had a good game against Baltimore, not so much against the Chargers. I don't know how concerned you should get. I think you should be a little concerned, though. I thought it was eye-opening. Mahomes was asked in the postgame. He says he views Herbert as an absolute rival. And there's many around the league that view Herbert the way that we viewed Mahomes, this big arm, gunslinging quarterback that is you're never truly out of a game as long as you got him back there. And to win in Kansas City, to go for it on 4th and 9 deep in your own territory, that takes absolute stones. And I think teams are done with the Kansas City Chiefs aura stuff. They want to punch that team in the mouth. And there's a bit of buying into their own hype that I've noticed. And it's little stuff. It's, Mahomes doing a no-look 8-yard pass for no reason other than to be on a highlight reel.
Yeah.
That's an unnecessary play. You did it once, cool. Now it's becoming a shtick. It's like Odell catching it with one hand instead of two. Just catch the football. And so I think Kansas City will come back to earth at some point and play like Kansas City, but Yeah, why not have a little worry?
Yeah, but I think there has to be some there, mainly because of the defense. Also, this has the chance to serve as a wake-up call, but you can't get away with just having Patrick Mahomes and beating everybody no matter what you're doing throughout the course of a game, right? Like, you have to clean some stuff up. The reason they lost to Baltimore was because they fumbled late. Now, the defense was horrific all night, but they fumbled late. They should have won that game. They fumbled late. They would have won this game Sunday if they didn't turn the football over 4 times. 4 turnovers.
But you can't turn the ball over in the NFL.
I don't think. Did the Chargers have a turnover? I know Herbert didn't throw a pick.
Yeah.
I'll go look at it, but I don't think so. Either you're a +3 or a +4 on the turnover margin. You find a way to win, right? So it's a lot of that little sloppy stuff that maybe you could get away with in years past that you just can't anymore because A, other teams have caught up to you, and B, maybe you've taken a slight step back. They get Philly this week. There's a good bounce back chance. Philly's on a short week, just played last night in Dallas. So that should be a win. You get back to 500, and then you get Buffalo. Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a showdown in Kansas City.
That's a game.
That'll be a big one, right? Because Bills have figured it out. They had that clunker in week 1, and they've played obviously better since then. And Kansas City, you're not going to be able to learn much from them, but I will wonder how that game goes. It now becomes kind of a must-watch. You think about the next 2 Sunday nights we have, dear God, you got Tom going back to New England this weekend.
Which, by the way, I'm all in.
I mean,
Let me just tell you right now, I'm all in.
How are you not? I know.
You can talk about that game all week on the national spectrum. I'm still all in locally here.
Yeah, I'm not consuming any of that coverage, so I'm not letting it get to me because it's going to ruin the excitement, and that is going to be a fun spectacle. And then the very next week, you get Kansas City hosting Buffalo, a rematch of the AFC title game. But that'll be a nice test for them to show, hey, we've cleaned some of this stuff up. We're back to playing the way we want to play.
Look, the NFC West got a lot of the conversation. The AFC West has just as much to say as the best division in football this year. It's incredibly difficult. You got the Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, and Chiefs. I'm more wondering, like, how far he can take them in year 2.
For Herbert?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to get too far ahead here and act like they're going to win a Super Bowl or anything, but this is a step I think you'd love to see them make the playoffs. They've got the personnel to do it. That roster's not short of talent. And if they stay healthy, man, you heard what Matt said. He thinks they're better than the Raiders, who are off to a great start record-wise. This might be the year the Chargers can pop and finally get back into it.
Fun couple of weeks for them. They host the Raiders, host the Browns, and then they go to Baltimore. That's their next 3 games, so it's going to be a rough stretch. The bummer for them, Monday Night Football next week against the Raiders. No Manning cast. They're taking a couple of weeks off. I would have loved to have heard Peyton and Eli break down some of the stuff that they see and they like from Herbert, but you won't get it.
I thought yesterday's was the best one.
They were great last night. We got a poll question up on that you can go vote on. We'll get to some more NFL stuff coming up on the final hour, including the struggles of the team in the Northwest. What's going on with them as they fell to Minnesota. That was one of the more surprising outcomes for me for the weekend. Is there real concerns in Seattle, or are we just overreacting to stuff that we've seen in the first 3 weeks? We'll get to the mail sack at 8:15, so get your questions in 503-250-1080. They can be sports or non-sports related. We will answer them at 8:15. And then don't forget, Jonathan Smith's going to join us in the final hour, coming off what I would argue is the biggest win of his head coaching tenure at Oregon State. So Jonathan Smith coming up around 8:40-ish as soon as they're done with practice. So it's a loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.